Branson Information Radio 1660 special sports presentation. Now let's head down to the venue and get the play-by-play.
And a pleasant good evening, one and all, from Archer's Tavern across from Delco Park on East Dorothy Lane. I'm Barney Sentner. Dennis Shaw is to my left, and to my right is Tamika Williams-Jeter, the third-year basketball coach at the University of Dayton. The Flyers will be opening their season on election night, so after you vote, come to the arena. Southeast Missouri State will be the opponent. It is a 7 o'clock game. So, well, let's get into this. Oh, by the way, we're taping this on Danica Lightbourne's birthday. Happy birthday, Danica.
Yes, happy birthday.
Yes, and all the times in replay, you'll be having several more birthdays. All right, so I want to start with this that I found interesting. This was a quote that you gave apparently at Media Day in Washington, D.C., and I want you to elaborate on it. It was during one of the articles on the 810 website preview. You said the mentality and the attitude is a lot better than last year. Mm-hmm. Could you elaborate on that?
We have people who have a lot of experience. You know, nothing against last year, but you have people who now on our roster who've played in Elite 8 games, Sweet 16 games, in the NCAA tournament multiple times, conference championships multiple times. So there's some leadership there. You have some experience there, and they played minutes. You also have a talented team. You have some kids who've transferred, who didn't play, who are hungry. And then some young kids who've come in and are pretty talented and trying to figure out their way. And you have some returners who want to win this year. So the way it's different is one thing I've learned going into year 3 is you can't teach experience and you can't teach leadership. That's something that, Ricky Harris, her freshman year at Ohio State when I was there, was a leader, and now she's a super senior, and they're advantageous, and it happens right off the bat. So I think that's where it sits a little bit differently, is you have some kids who have experience in winning, and it matters.
The breakdown, and we will talk about the individual players, are 5 transfers, 3 freshmen, and 7 returnees. That's a nice mix because I think a lot of teams, like, first of all, your first opponent, Southeast Missouri State, I don't know how you're going to scout them. They have one player who was on their team last year, so that will be a challenge. But where I was going with this is basically, so first of all, let's talk about a couple of the players. Ricky Harris and Nicole Stevens. Yes. I talked with them today, recorded some halftime interviews.
They're all
did? Yes, they were wonderful.
You're so well prepared.
Oh yeah. I don't
have to say much if you talk to Ricky.
No, that's true.
Nicole.
Here's what I was going to say. They're both coaches already. They talk like coaches and very unique. They are helping do the scouting.
Yeah.
How did that get happen?
Well, they both talked about coaching. Of course, I've known Ricky and Nicole for a long time. Recruited both of them out of high school. So and Coach Ricky at Ohio State for 2 years, right? Probably the 2 lowest points for her. And then Nicole recruited her. She was just 100 pounds wet and too small for the Big Ten, but we had her on campus at Penn State, loved her. She's a big Central kid. But I've known her. My husband trained her. So those were previous relationships that I had. And they both talked about coaching. I mean, Nicole's one of the smartest people I know. And Ricky has 2 degrees from Ohio State. So I don't know why they would want the gray hair that I have, but that's what they wanted. So a big part of what we talked about, especially bringing Colleen Day Henderson, is I wanted her to create a curriculum for them with my assistant coaches that they would have to do small little tasks that a coach would have to do, an assistant. So scout was one of them. So they did a Wright State scout. They had to present it. They had to go over how we were going to defend defensively. They went over the entire scout in front of the team, which is really cool. And then we play West Virginia. They'll do a little bit as well. There's some drills I have them setting up. They sit with Kalisha and go over recruiting. They've helped with some recruits as far as like tours on campus, what it takes, what do you say to parents, things of that nature. So when they do become assistant coaches, it won't be their first go around. We had internship set up with Nicole Stevens next summer with the Washington Mystics, but their coaches and GM just got fired today.
Yes, the Tebows, Eric
Tebows.
And Mike.
So I'm going to have to figure out something else. I got Misty Bass and Trajan Langdon up and Bickerstaff up with the Pistons. So she'll get a little bit of that next summer. Then I'm going to call Indiana to try to get her over there. So we're just trying to put them in spaces. Of course, we get Nicole for 2 years where they don't have to go through what I went through. Your first scout, and you're sweating, and your first presentation, and your first time talking to a recruit. Isn't that?
How do you do a scout on a team that, first of all, and I'm talking Southeast Missouri, that has a first-year coach and had one player who was playing last year?
You don't, I mean, Kalisha keeps saying, like, I don't know, whatever. But for her, she'll have to go individually and pull personnel from their previous places. If they're in high school, these kids post enough highlights that you'll get to see what they think they're good at least. And then she'll have to do the scout plays based on how he ran his system, or she, I don't even know who's there, ran their system previous to them coming to SEMO. So it's kind of a hodgepodge, and all of them are like that. Ours are going to be like, people don't know who are going to play, who are going to start, what style of play, because now, it looks a little different.
Dennis?
Well, so obviously with that, practice is going to be of the utmost importance right now. Listening to Ivy at your media day, she talked about some of these practices are getting even a little chippy.
Oh, yeah.
Is that, kind of a microcosm of that?
Yeah, I mean, when you bring in that level of competitive nature, and Nicole and Ricky, like first week of workouts, not practice, they'll be mad about a play we didn't call, or like Bryce didn't call, and they'll be like, hey, go watch so-and-so, because they're watching practice. There's a legal screen that Molly O'Riordan did, which caused us to lose that particular drill. And that's like the team versus the team, And so it's like, you'll get that from them. We're a weekend, and Ricky takes a charge during a workout in June. And she looks at me, and I'm like, don't ever do that again. She takes
Sure.
But this is a kid who's guarding Caitlin Clark 5 months ago and guarded her every year, so, and beat her, so it's like that mentality you can't change. And she looked up at me. She was like, with this whole body, I just did that for the team, but I got you in November. And they lifted her up off the ground, So I think with that type of player, you do get chippiness. They'll talk trash to each other. They go back and forth with Nani, or you're a trial, you did this, you do that. But the one thing about this team is when they transition, when the practice is over, they're sisters again.
Let's start talking about the individual players. So let's talk about Nicole. Obviously, I think a big thing about this year, first of all, you want to eliminate the turnovers. That was a dirty word last year.
That's dirty.
Where does Nicole come into that play?
She cleans up the dirty. She's like flushable wipes, The best toilet paper you ever had in your life. She eliminates a lot of that. We have a point guard. We have a kid that knows why things happen. She knows where to put people in positions. I've had to call out a lot of stuff and keep it very simple. Now we can run some different actions because we have a real point guard. It takes a lot of pressure off of Ivy. Ivy's just finishing, catching, shooting threes, coming off pin downs and staggers, and enjoying life because she doesn't have to think about it. And then Ricky Harris, for 5 years at Ohio State, is 3-1 in assist to turnover ratio. A kid who had the ball in her hands, and now our post players are eating. Nani is scoring a point a minute play because they roll it in there and they throw it up to Eve, and they're having a lot of fun because they're just catch and finish players now, adding those two players. But with Nicole, super high basketball IQ, very bright kid. Before practice, she's helping Eleanor and Jada Johnson with their genetics classes and things of that nature. But tough competitor. Had a great turnout, against Wright State in our exhibition game, our practice scrimmage. But she is a coach on the floor, very competitive, can score 3 levels. I don't think she was able to display what she could do, but just is just a very smart kid and just gets it done for us from a point guard standpoint.
One follow-up, and then I'll get back to Dennis. You mentioned in the article the Week of the Wolf. Apparently you want Ivy to be a little more vocal. Can you elaborate on that?
I tell Ivy every week that her mom calls me and pays me money to get her to play defense and to talk. So I just think Ivy doesn't give herself credit, and we talk about it, so it's nothing that she was surprised about. But she doesn't give herself credit for the admiration that her teammates have for the leadership that she brings by example. But there comes a point where example has to be verbal. And for her, she keeps her mouth closed on a lot of things. And this year, I did a whole week. I had it on the practice plan and said, Week of the Wolf, in quotes. And I explained to her teammates every timeout or whenever I feel like it, we're gladiator. We're either going there, we're going there. And, this is the one thing Nicole never gave her this. She was like, and they get on her about it because you play too much and you mean too much to this team to be quiet. You have to be more verbal, and you're the person off the court that's taking them to the lake house and dropping the freshmen off when it's cold, and you're doing all these things, but you never want to say anything. So now I have Ricky and Nicole who hold her to that part. And that was the Week of the Wolf. So every time they call it, and Nicole would be, like Danny Carroll.
So we should sit at the press box or our table, and we should start doing this stuff.
Right.
She'll know what that means.
When she airballs a heart, like you got to go up and down like that, make it real bad. But she knows what it means. But now she takes accountability for it. She means a lot to this program.
Well, so we're obviously getting ready to talk about some of these newcomers. 5 transfers, 3 freshmen. When you're recruiting, do you weigh the players differently? Because, obviously you get experience versus the extra years. I'm curious kind of how that goes.
It changes. Now a lot's changed since these kids have come on board in college sports, especially on the basketball side. But yes, I mean, the one thing I wanted to get, of course, are kids who pass to our team and not the other team. And I think Ricky and Nicole fulfilled that. Then you got some surprises because we all brought in 3 other kids who didn't play a lot of minutes. So now you got to go, and 2 of the 3 were Canadian, right? So now you got to go to Canada and find out how they were in high school. You got to talk to the coaches about them and who they were, whatever. And I had Lindsay Whalen, who was my last point guard in Connecticut, and I got to call her because that's who recruited her to Minnesota. And I've talked to Erin Horn, who's on staff there, about who a jockey is and her potential. As a kid is only playing 3 years. Remember, I told you that she's going on year 4 when you watch her play. She got involved because of COVID. She's a soccer kid, right? When you see her, you're not going to believe it because she's taller than I am. COVID happens. They shut down all the soccer fields in Saskatchewan. And she said, I'm going to start watching basketball. She watched 2 players that resemble her from a physique standpoint, Breanna Stewart, Kevin Durant. Watch them, emulate them, watch them. And she just went out to the courts, and that's how she learned the game. She's really good. So that's what we looked at, is just building those relationships and talking to people and what kind of the culture kid. That was huge for me going into year 3, what kind of kid they were. So that's kind of what we look for. We want talented kids. We needed someone who could harass people defensively. That would be Shantavia Dawkins. She's a dog, just charges, block shots. She's a long arm. She plays at a high motor, picks up. We needed that type of kid. And she can pass, which is really good. Both of them can. So that's kind of what we look for. And it happens in 45 days.
And also, you look at the level of competition. Dawkins playing at Iowa State.
Yep.
That's got to be important.
Iowa State. And then you have a jock who played in Minnesota. And then Jada Johnson, funny story, we're about to play Rhode Island. And I talked to her dad. Her dad dated my sister in college. When I was in college, he dated my older sister. Then he has an AU program and high school program. So we always talk. And at that point, Jada was going into the portal. And so that was another relationship that we had previously. Well, my older sister, thank God, she dated her dad and from Boston College, and she didn't play. So she's actually a freshman. She had tore ACL her senior year coming in. So we had a Boston College kid, Minnesota kid, and then a kid from Iowa State. And they wanted to keep her at Iowa State. So, I hear things from the coaches there like, hey, she's one of the only kids that are transferring in the last 2 years that we still allowed to use our facility. Right there, that tells me culture. Right? Because Finley's been in it forever, as long as I've been born. Right? So, we still like her around. There's times we think about even still allowing her to meet with our recruits. A kid that's leaving, you want to keep them away, right? So that took care of the character, and it took care of who she is as a person. Now, can she play? Well, if you know Iowa State, they got a really big kid that's an All-American, and he's never had that. He usually has big kids that can shoot it, flare, shoot the 3, they can space the floor. That's what Iowa State has done for 30, almost 40 years. So you utilize kids like Shantavia. Well, they get this big kid who's filling up the paint, and she's averaging 20 plus points, and who wouldn't want her? And now you don't have any space for a kid that likes to get downhill. So it wasn't that. It's just he landed this kid that he's never coached. He had to change the way he coached, and he said, but she's a great kid. So that's how we kind of got those 3 kids.
You alluded to Molly earlier. That would be one of your freshmen, Molly O'Riordan.
Yeah.
Well, you were calling her the baby Jokic, I think.
She's Jokic.
So are you going to put her in with Eve at the same time, or is she going to be splitting time with her as Eve gets rest?
Yeah, well, we would potentially like to put her playing the 4 offensively. Right now she's playing the 5 because we wanted her to learn one space. But she gives us that ability. She shoots the 3 ball. She can pass. Very smart IQ, like we're playing in a game, and she backdoor cuts and, just little feels and touches of the game. Rolling, they pass it to her, she grabs it, touch pass to Ivy, for a 3 in the corner. Has been playing extremely well at times, has led us in scoring just because of her versatility. She has the ability to shoot and be a big. So she does really well. Defensively, thought she was going to be a little off, but she's actually performed very well. At times I don't even notice she's out there as a freshman, and I didn't think that was going to happen. But her ability to stretch the floor and her IQ are going to be huge for us. So I love and she's a great personality. She's going to come your interview and she's going to be like, I think that's so-and-so, but just know it's the more you get to, she's not even the more you get to know her. She's a big personality. She's hilarious. She's funny. She cracks jokes. She's a great little character.
Well, I mean, that may answer this question because I was going to ask. Obviously, sometimes you need to break up some tension.
Yeah.
Mariah was big for that.
Oh, yeah.
So is anyone else other than her, or who's kind of breaking that tension?
You definitely, Shantavia Dawkins is hilarious if you just watch her on TikTok. Ricky's a huge personality. I mean, you could probably talk to her all day. That's another big one. Kim is not going to say a word. Kim is Shannon part two in the corner as far as her personality. Of course, Ariana Smith. Nani's going to be a big personality for us. Molly is going to be a personality. Eleanor Moniak, Olivia. Olivia is a huge personality, just right off the bat, all teeth, going to talk, a jock. Didn't think so initially, but, I was making fun of Olivia's socks in our group chat, and she found a picture of me in the WNBA with no-show socks. And I was like, that was the thing back then, But I didn't think that would come. But their personalities are huge. But I would say the biggest ones are Ricky, Olivia, Molly, and Nani.
Talk about some of the returners now. Eve, what are you working on with her? One of the things has to be foul trouble.
Yes, foul trouble, left hook, because I think her right hook was pretty killer for her last year. So when we judge everybody else on mid-range and threes, she has to make a certain amount of left hooks and right hooks, because I think that's huge for her. She's so long and finished pretty well, around the rim. And then not necessarily swiping at her man, but anybody attacking from the weak side or, strong side, and she's in the weak side. She's in help. Blocking those shots is a little bit easier to time than always trying to, block the person's shot that you're defending. But she's done really well with that. Eve runs the floor like a deer. When we run sprints, she wins probably 90% of them against even the speed we have in the gym right now. I think just getting a year under her belt has been great. And she was a kid who trajected very quickly in the right direction as the season progressed. And she's just growing. I mean, she's very good. She's being ball screen defense now. She's finishing probably 60% from the field in practice. Making her free throws, which was always the thing for her because she got to the free throw line and it's not the prettiest shot, but she found a way and she could really be a force for us coming into year two.
One follow-up, and then we'll go back to Dennis. How important was it for her development and confidence that she got all that playing time in about the last 10 games,
Yep.
and we really got to see what she could do?
I think it was huge for her because that's what she holds on to. And then just, you got better players in the gym this year as far as just more of them. So when she goes against Molly and Molly uses her little, shoulder and her little fadeaway, timing that up and just going against different offensive players, because bigs don't go against bigs in high school, until they get to college this first time. Like Molly couldn't make a layup the first 3 weeks. She thought she was the worst player, and because you don't see size. And you come here when you got guys at practice and you're playing against Eve and Nani and they're long and they block shots and she starts to figure it out. So for Eve, I think when she got that Rookie of the Week last year, that was huge for her. Eve's story, she was homeless before she got here. So there's a lot of, when you talk about confidence, that's probably the biggest confidence boost that me and my staff ever in our life have had to build up a kid, because she came in with flip-flops on, and it's cold outside. There was a group of people who followed her around campus and took pictures of her and they would post it. She's got a great sense of humor, but because her head would be so far down from behind, it looked like she was headless. And so the thing, but you talk about somebody's confidence when they look at the ground all day. Now she's looking straight ahead. She's not the best at eye contact, but she's not looking at the floor. And I think that's a testament to not only our program, but our university. Because President Spina was a big part of that. Angie Petrovich was a big part of that. Beth Flack, they're huge parts of that. Andrew Bacon holding her accountable. It was a village to make sure we felt comfortable. And now she'll run through a wall for us because her village was strong.
All these new pieces kind of moving in together. You guys always will either take a trip or do team building exercises. Yeah. What has it been this offseason?
I saw paintball, by the way.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
That was something that I think I took for granted my first 2 years. I've grown a lot as a head coach, and that was a lot of feedback I got from Ivy and Eleanor, like we need to do more of that. We've done a lot of it. We've read the book, The Hard Hat. Kalisha made our staff read it. We had to regurgitate it and spit it out over the summer, and now the team is reading it slowly. So we've met with them and taken different parts of it.
What is that book about?
I don't want to give it away, but it's about pretty much the main character's name is George, and he epitomizes what it means to be the best teammate ever. and everything that goes with it. So he lives by the motto of well done is better than well said. Leave a place better than you found it. Communication. Everything is written about George, and then George ends up passing out he plays lacrosse. He passes out. He dies. His family has to come. It was pretty tragic, but. What people remember most and people still gather around is how great of a teammate he was. So, and there are all kinds of examples. So it's great for our team to read. It was great for our staff to read. And then we're doing some stuff around that. Saturday, we did a finger paint, washable paint, where I read off different statements like, who do you think sings in the shower? And they'd have to take their fingerprint and touch that person's shirt. Who do you admire? Who's been there for you during a tough time? Who's the best dressed? So it was some things that were light. There were some things that were really deep. Then the last one I asked, which I was just like, okay, now I'm old, was who would be one of your golden girls if you had to go to the nursing home yesterday? Coach Meek, what is a golden girl? Are you kidding me? Am I that old? I was like, if you're going to nursing home, who would be your homies? Oh, okay, that would be, they start.
Nobody said Betty White.
Nobody said Betty White.
Or Estelle Getty.
No. There was none of that. So that was very interesting to see that. But that's what we did. And before practice, we went out to
the lake.
FCA and did a low rope course. And then we spent a night there. And then we woke up and practiced on campus there in Springfield, which was really nice. They loved that. We ate as a team. I did a TikTok. It was a thing. We've done a lot with them. We've done paint and sip, not real alcohol, of course, juice and Gatorade, but it was cool. We had little bibs and they had to come up with words. But we've done a lot more of that, and it's been very good. It's really brought the team. And then they've done some where they've had dinners, and Ivy took them up to her lake house twice, and the whole team show up. Even Eve's dog got the invite, and they're all on the boat. So they not only have we strategically put some things in space, they have, and we've done a lot as a staff too.
I want to talk about a couple of returnees. Then we'll get back to Dennis. Niall Lair, she's got so much talent.
Yeah.
What different position is she going to have this year? Because, of course, last year, for whatever circumstances, she had to have the ball a lot and turned it over.
Yeah, she doesn't have to have the ball this year. I mean, now you get to play her
How's
in
that
natural
going to make
position.
her better?
It's already made her better because now she just has to worry about finishing and defense. And I think that's where, that's what I talk to her the most is like when you get in a game, there has to be a trigger that goes on where you keep people in front of you. And I think that's where she's gotten better in competition. I mean, last year I didn't have the luxury if she had to pull her out. I might put somebody in that might get two too. Right now she just has to focus, especially with Nicole and Ricky. They settle everything. They make everybody calm, play a little bit slower. It just takes a lot off of her plate in that space.
Shannon, healthy. Hopefully no shoulder injuries at a free throw line.
Yeah.
What is she going to bring to this team this year?
With Shannon, definitely more vocal this year than I've ever seen her. But another situation for her is she's got to bring it because those younger kids are showing up, and it's how you want to finish your senior year. So I'm on her all the time. It's your senior year. Got to get it done. It's your senior year. Molly, go get her. And I've never had that. Competition brings the best or the worst out of people. And right now, that's where this team is going to go with the returners, right? With anybody. If you don't show up, you will be exposed.
Ariana?
She's still a dog, and me and Nani probably go at it more than anybody else, but I love the kid. She's still averaging a double in our practice games, so she's just relentless on the board. She makes such a huge difference for us on both ends of the court. But I don't know if she's going to have to play 40, 30 minutes a game because you got Molly and you got Eve and you got people stepping up into place, and we're playing a little different. We're playing more 4 guard or the big forward, or Ricky's our 4 or Jock's our 4, Jada's our 4 because those kids are tall or as tall as I am and way more skilled. So we really only have 1-5 space the way we play this year, and we're playing 4 out. So I wanted to make sure I had my best players, more of them could be on the court. So we've kind of had to change some things on how we play the game, which has been fun for me to be able to coach and work in different offensive schemes and defensively just put more pressure on people.
And how about Danica? She got some starts last year.
Yeah, Danica had a great summer, but then here lately she's been being very soft and passing the ball. I don't know if it's because her birthday was coming up. So I almost made her cry in practice. Kalisha said, I didn't know I did, but we passed the ball ahead and she just kind of dribbles in and dribbles out. And we're in attack mode and we're killing the guys, right? And I just subbed her out. I said, hey, Cam, you get in. Yeah, but Danica off. And I didn't even pay attention. And Kalisha was like, she turned, and then the puppy eyes and the tears, but just her keeping that up. She had a great summer. She had a great September. And then it's like the closer we get to games, the more she's kind of like, and I need her to keep punching. So I expect her to have a really good year. She had a great summer. I just got to keep her on edge.
Well, you've talked kind of a few times tonight about your evolution of coaching, kind of how you've grown over the 3 years. Do you find it hard, like being as gifted of a player as you are, sometimes kind of what translate, what doesn't? Just talk about that a little bit.
I think I learned that my first couple of years in coaching. When I would always tell, I had some great players, like Jessica Davenport was All-American, Big Ten Player of the Year, and I get in there, I'm like, just do it like this, just do it like this. And I remember after my first GA year at Ohio State, man, Coach Foster, these kids suck. Like, they're the worst, So your gauge is so high because potentially you might have just left one of the best college teams in women's basketball, right? And then you get to the bottom of the Big Ten when we first got there, and then you end up winning 6 Big Ten championships in a row. But I remember him coming in my office and saying, from this moment on, you can't get on the court. There's a reason why there's pro before your name, right? These kids can't do what you can do. And these kids have not played in the arenas you've played in. So don't think they're going to be there, right? And one day you're not going to be able to do this stuff, so you have to learn how to teach the game. Best advice ever my second year in coaching, because now I can't get in there and show them what to do. When they asked me, I told them I would only return to the game the way I left it. That was getting paid. So if they paid me, I would get out there. And he made me learn the game, and he made me know how to articulate what I needed and wanted out of him. So that kind of played out of me probably my third year coaching. And then I was taught the game by two people who can't make a layup. So unlike most people, people look for, I talk to my friends and I'll be like, hey, why don't you look at this, assistant coach? She's never played, and that's like 90% of coaches. They don't want anybody who hasn't played basketball. But I was taught the game by two people, Gina Oriyama and Coach Foster, who never could make a layup. They've never made a running layup in their life, right? But they know the game better. Like Coach Foster said, I forgot more basketball than these Big Ten coaches know. And he proved it. He won the Big Ten championship 6 times in a row. So I don't have that ego of you got to play to know it. And I've seen some people who are in the Hall of Fame right now who can't walk you through a play. So I kind of venture like there's some things that I probably know from work experiences and playing the game that are team focus. But my walk-on is one of my favorite friends, Marcy Zell from UConn, and she couldn't make a shot, and I love her to death, and she would tell you the heartbeat of the team before anybody.
So the coaching staff is the same, and it's kind of unusual, you added a coach.
Yeah.
So Colleen Day Henderson.
Yes.
Actually, I also interviewed her already.
Yeah.
Very pleasurable to speak with.
Absolutely.
Where does she come in? And she has the title of Chief of Staff.
Yeah, she just tells us all what to do at this point.
I was just saying, where does she come into all of this?
I just really needed someone with a lot more experience. And we're probably right there from an experience standpoint. Someone who's been an assistant coach, associate head coach. That was another criteria to really talk to Angie and Neil about. Someone who could push me to be a little bit better, polish my assistant coaches off just a little bit, help me to think outside the box a little bit more, challenge me in some spaces, and then just overall bring some organization to just the entire staff. And so I can focus more on being a head coach. So because you're managing a lot of pieces, and she's been a godsend for us. On my phone, each emoji means something with my coaching staff, right? So the players asked me yesterday, we were meeting about the hard hat because we got this hard hat, and we're printing, and they're doing all their little things and breaking into their groups. Kalisha's really good with that stuff, and hers is a puzzle piece because I really feel like she was a missing puzzle piece for us when she calls, and I think her approach with everyone has been great. She loves Dayton, UD basketball. I think she has to. Her baby Jay does. Jermaine, on the men's staff, they're Flyers to the death at this point. And she's been great. Organization, getting things done that I don't have to think about. When I tell her one thing, I'd never have to worry about it because I already know it's going to happen. Our social media, new ideas, ways to think on and off the court, just everything. She notices if we, things we've noticed in the past that she's put a stamp on that we probably haven't told her, like, yeah, Ivy does need to talk more, or things like that. She's been really great. If I said something to the team, she'll be like, I think that was great the way you said it. Just kind of that kind of stuff. Just having a chief of staff, she just tells us what to do.
I think you'll be very proud of this. I know you know this. The NCAA Academic Progress Report. Your team came in at 995 out of a possible 1,000, first in the conference. Just wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about that.
I had no idea because in this day and age, it's hard to pay attention to it. And I think the only one is Sydney, and they're working on it right now. Sydney ended up having a child. And we didn't know that she was pregnant. So she had a baby and kind of got scared. And I mean, she's open about it now. But she's going to be at Fort Wayne and probably finish. But that was out of our control. And she was nervous and scared at the time and didn't want to tell us. So, but did want to come back this year. We just had already, fulfilled some of our roster at that point. But I think that's our only one. But in this day and age, does that ever happen? No. I mean, you can do everything right and lose a kid. You can play them. They can get really good grades. They can have a great experience. They can get paid more and leave. They can, want to play at a higher level or lower level. It could be a friend. It could be family that shifts them. We're in a day and age where things have completely flipped over. And every day something new is happening. No longer a national letter of intent. Now you got roster spots, right? And you can fill them however and use the money however. And you got different funds, and you got kids leaving because it's an extra $5,000 more, and they might go to a losing situation, and they think $20,000 is going to change their family situation forever. So that's our new state. So I'm very happy about that. I did not know. I know I try to make sure everybody graduates. Everybody graduated last year. We had some kids graduate and move on to other spaces. But the one thing I can say about University of Dayton is if they can find a way for you to get your degree, they will.
I want to ask you about the schedule this year. It's primarily home games for non-conference.
Yeah.
Was that done intentionally? You've really only got 2 road trips, a game at Duke, which will be interesting, and then you've got a tournament.
Yeah.
So was it the effort of trying to play more home games?
I mean, as long as Neil lets me play a home game and he doesn't say no, and Angie, I will play, home games. For us, yes. I mean, if some of them were, and then you have some teams like Central Connecticut that'll, they're trying to get a little bit of money on the back end of it, but they play like Ohio State, Cincinnati. They'll knock out 3. So we got some phone calls of them being in the area that really helped us out, right? Because they're making their swing.
Tennessee State, they're going to play at Wright State on a Friday, and then your place on Sunday.
So we benefited from really being in a state with a lot of D1 schools, and so sometimes you can catch them, and you have friends in the business. They go, "Hey, we're playing so and so. Can we come play?" You guys, absolutely, because they're double dipping on being paid. We kind of can split it, right? So it's not as expensive for them coming in and playing one game, and they get 3 or 4 games, and it works out for their schedule. And so we kind of got lucky with that. Duke is our last return game from the previous staff, so it's just like Connecticut last year. Oh, you guys went up. That's what no, that was kind of left for us. And Duke, I kind of pushed them off to year 3, so we'll go play that game, and then we have our tournament in Nashville.
And you also have a rematch this time at home against a Providence team. I was doing their research.
Yeah.
They are bringing back their entire team.
Yeah, and they're picked 3rd preseason. I just talked to their head coach. I'm friends with her. I've played against Erin, and she worked my sister, and I've known her through the business. And she's just like, "There's no way." I said, "Erin, you have 2 all-conference players. It's a way, And then she's benefited, and she was like, "I benefit a little bit because some other people got jobs, like losing Megan Duffy to Virginia Tech. I mean, Marquette has never been second to last in the Big East, and Doug Bruno's been sick, so Joe Posadi is coaching that team, so he's a little down. But I said, if you got 2 all conferences, you guys in Creighton, Connecticut's got 10 people on the all conference team, and so you should be 3rd. So I'm excited about that. I mean, the Big East is always a big challenge, and you get to play against that team, and a lot of those girls were there when we played them last time. They're just older, smarter, but we got them at home.
And your references to Candace Dupree,
yes.
who I go back so long, I actually announced her when she came to Dayton with Temple.
Yes. Oh man, you're that old?
Yeah, 22nd year.
You don't look a day over 22. You look good.
Right.
No.
So as we change
You don't have to do that.
As
You
we
don't have
change
to
the
do
subject, go back to you.
Well, just kind of your overall assessment of the conference, up or down from last year, just kind of a breakdown of what you see.
I think, I actually posted it because I think it was pretty cool. I want to say 5 or 6 coaches on the preseason Coach of the Year watch. That's our first in A10 history. So is the A10 up? Yes. I think the A10 used to be very top heavy. I mean, we benefited where you could walk into gyms and win. There's nobody walking in any gym. We've had Fordham beat St. Joe's when they needed, you can have that swing. And I think the coaching overall has just really stepped up. Davison knocking off Duke last year, probably should have beat North Carolina, one bad call. if not for injuries, I mean, was running amok in this conference. Rhode Island's had their time where they've been good. Duquesne's been steady. St. Louis came in and won right away. St. Joe's returned everybody. You know, George Mason lost their first and third leading scorers, but they had really good young emerging talent. And she's done a good job there. So she's always telling me, Veronica's like, get to year 3, get to year 3. But so again, I think in this conference, anything can happen. Fordham, of course, came in and made a decent charge. Loyola Chicago won some games last year. So I think this is and we've had good incoming, whether they've been transfers or freshmen, really good. So I'm excited to play in this conference. I think the coaching, you see something different every night. I think that 5 or 6, I can't remember, it was at least 5 coaches on a preseason coach of the year watch list. Never happened in this conference.
And of course, another team you mentioned with Aaron Russell, Richmond.
Yeah, Aaron. Yeah, he was mad that we got ranked so low. He came up to me and he goes, "That's BS," you know. But he said that short.
I was like, "No,
we're 10th. Like, I'm fine with it." You know, he's just like, "That's
do pay
BS.
attention, though. I mean, it's all a guess."
I think I do wish this. I wish the A10 would do it based like other conferences. You know, like I was looking at the Big East on the women's side, or even on our men's side, right? They look at everybody who's come into the conference, whether they're transfer or freshman, and then they assess who should finish where. We do everything based on the last year.
That's not fair.
But they do it. They go 1 through 14, and they go, Aaron finished here. They don't look at, you know, and Aaron was like, we shouldn't be number 1. I lost my point guard and my 2 guard to transfer portal, you know, and that was a big part of who he was. St. Joe should be number 1. They returned everybody, and they were ranked there, you know, like, so I don't really care. He was not happy with where we were ranked, and he wasn't happy where he was ranked. But I was like, hey, we choose this. And he was just like, you know, we don't put Ricky Harris on an all-defensive team, and the kid was guarding Caitlin Clark, where on the men's side, Posh is on the all-conference team because he has proven himself, you know, there. Or in the Big East, there's a kid that transferred from Princeton. She was player of the year in Ivy. She's at UConn now. She's on the all-conference team. But we're a conference that we don't look at any transfers coming in or any, you know, young kids coming in that are going to have some instant impact. We rate everything based on the previous season.
Well, like a team like St. Louis, again, second year in a row, they had the rush and they won the WNIT.
Yeah, and she brought some really great players from her previous institution that should have been on all conference preseason because you didn't put them on it then, but they were on the one that's going to be in the, you know, and written in stone in the postseason. So I just wish we did a better job of doing that. The men on the men's side, they do it. Other conferences do a great job of assessing who's on your roster going to the next season. We don't. We base it. How we finish is how we vote, and who's in the conference last year is how it's going to be in preseason conference. But Aaron was not very happy with UD. I'm happy with UD. I think 10th is great. They could have put us at 14th, but I didn't care. 15th. We don't even have it. 17th. We could go there. I'm fine with wherever they put us.
You're up.
Well, the only question I kind of have left, tempo. Last year, there was a few times where it kind of made sense to kind of slow back, but I would expect this year kind of getting back to what UD does, which is fly.
Yes.
Is that what we expect to see?
Yeah, absolutely. And we got the bodies. I mean, it's so funny now they line up, and we used to be able to like be on the court a little bit on the sidelines, but now the coaches, we almost have to get like 4 feet off because we have a full roster. Not a full, but 14, of course, and then plus 1 with Eleanor. So it's just kind of interesting to feel that. I think defensively, I've always wanted to play a little bit more aggressive, but, you know, you got limited bodies or limited things that people can do, and now we're in that space. I think our rotations are really good, and that our pace is really good, but you also have to play smart. And for a while, we had to play fast because we didn't have an advantage, and we threw the ball all over the place. Now we can play fast and smart with kids like Ricky and Nicole who know how to handle it. Ivy with a lot of pressure off, so her assist-to-turnover ratio is very good right now. I think Ricky's is really good. Shantavia's is really good. Nicole and Eve, those are everybody who's in our green right now. So used to just be one player.
In my interview with Ricky today, she said you're going to look to score within 8 seconds.
Yes.
Is that too much or too little?
No, that's fine. That's perfect. I mean, I would like 6, but 8 is fine. But again, we can only play that way because we have the players that can play smart in that space. But what's really good is we don't have to play that way. You can slow us down, and we can execute because we have players that can do that right now. I haven't played a game, but I mean, it's just fun to see them be able to figure out some different offensive schemes and play within them.
Anything else?
Who may surprise us? You've said a lot, but maybe like who's going to maybe come out that might even surprise you?
I think a Jock. She just has positional. I mean, when I talked to Lindsay Whalen, she said, Tamika, she's a pro. She's a pro. I'm like, why she ain't play in Minnesota if she's a pro? That was my thing. And I talked to Jock about that. And then you get this kid out there and you're like, okay, she's an inch taller than I am. She can shoot the three. She can get to the pulley. Not very physical initially. If you blew wind at her, she was going to throw it off the backboard. But, pad work does wonders. And playing against our male practice team, because they're bomb. They show up every morning at 7 a.m. to play us. We'll get that physicality is just going to happen. But it's a kid who plays soccer, right? She's got quick feet. She's got handle. She's just a kid that you're like, if we can get her going this year, she could be special because of positional size and skill.
I can't let you go without, and I talked to Eleanor today, 10 minutes. I wish I could have talked to her for an hour.
That's my homie now.
What does she bring to this team?
She brings everything. Eleanor's my favorite. I tell the team that. You're not supposed to have favorites, but I tell them that. Because that's a kid who pays to go to school. I don't pay anything. She
did get scholarship one semester, I think, a couple of years ago.
Not for me.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Somewhere.
We practice at 7 a.m. because you got to graduate these kids. And then you have to give them the full menu of our classes. And she gets all A's and B's. I don't know if she told you what class she's taking, but she's going to be a doctor,
yes.
So you can do
organic something.
Yeah, organic chemistry. She's in genetics, and she'll make a big scene. Oh, Coach Meek, I got to go look at the cadavers today, and I'm going to fail at all A's and B's.
Yeah, she mentioned about brainwaves, studying brainwaves and putting things on her head.
Yeah, but when you meet Eleanor, you never get that. She's this jovial, loud kid, obnoxious, super competitive. You don't see this little, scientist in the back that she is, but she's the most loving. She protects the program with her heart. She loves being a flyer. She loves everything about UD. She embodies everything a student athlete should be. She is on the executive board for her sorority. She's on the executive board for SAC. She is Crystal Warren's assistant. She does more community service than anybody. She does everything. If you had a kid, you would want him to be Eleanor, and the team loves her. She's energetic. She's competitive with them. She talks trash to, and it'd be stupid stuff. She'll be like, you know what, Ivy, you're the shortest guard I've ever seen in my life. You're the shortest, Ivy. And then Ivy held her. Okay, Ivy, I was just playing around, But Eleanor means so much to me. And
I told her today, I said, people, when they go to the game, because you can't get this on TV, they need to watch her on the bench.
Yeah.
She's the first one up at a timeout. Yes. Watch her. And I told her, I said, sometimes I might come to a game. I might have had a bad day. Yep. I'm not exactly excited to do the game. I watch her in warm-ups.
Yes. She comes and says hi.
That's a gift.
Day. Yeah. She goes as hard as you would want anybody. It's very hard to not play her as much in the years previous because there was times where it's just like she's earned it, and this team particularly is funny because Eleanor's very honest. She'll be like, yeah, I'm not going to get many minutes with this team we got together this year, coach, because, man, they are good. She'll just say stuff like that where before she wouldn't. But when I tell you the kid has protected the program more than anybody I know, she comes and says hi every day. Hey, Queen. That's what she says. Calls me. Hey, Queen. How you doing, Queen? I'm like, hey, Queen. I'll just say to Eleanor, get out of here. She just embodies everything. If I could find someone to donate just, a scholarship to her, that would be the person I would because she's given everything to this program.
On that note, we're going to end it unless you've got anything more.
Can't say anything better than that.
All right. Coach, thank you. November 5th, Southeast Missouri State. Vote and then come to the game.
That's right. Make sure you go vote.
That's important.
Go Flyers.
All right. So that is it. And we'll look forward to our first broadcast, and that will be on Tuesday, November the 5th at about 6:45. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody then. So for Dennis Shaw and for Coach Tamika Williams-Jeter, I'm Barney Sentner. Have a good evening.
It's an Information Radio 1660 special sports presentation. Now let's head down to the venue and get the play-by-play.